Hi and welcome to the second part of my Russia series, now featuring the Russian Civil War from the central government controlled by the Soviets, the Reds, with their issues of communist currency to those who oppose them, like Odessa in Ukraine, to Siberia, the white side in Siberia, and some provisional government issues prior to the Civil War. To the southern front, northwestern front, and beyond. But let's get this out of the way. This is a high denomination of the series presented in the previous video, where I showed off, I believe, 250 and 1000 ruble banknote of this style. This is the 10,000 ruble version that I had missed that I actually owned, since I own too damn many of these banknotes. So this is dated 1918, as with many others, although this series is often dated 1917. But they were all issued in practice in 1919, I believe. And the other side is basically the 1000 banknote, but it says 10,000 instead. Not much to say, really. So that's that one. So the central government in Moscow, which controlled the money printing business, continued to issue Russian imperial, Russian provisional government banknotes in 1917, in 1918, as late as 1919, before finally adopting their own designs. And this includes this polyglot versions of the currency. What I mean with that is that they carry many different languages. So this 1000 ruble banknote from, I believe, 1919, which is one of the first with communist imagery. We can see that it spells out the workers of all countries unite in, or the proletarians of all countries unite, in German, French, Japanese, Arabic, Romanian, English, and Russian, of course, with the Soviet coat of arms. So that's one side. On the other, we have the year indeed, 1919, and with a lot of Russian. So it's a really simple banknote, and I don't think the need for money, well, of course, printing money to pay for upkeep, of course, but there were really already lots of old money in circulation. So I guess it was part propaganda to keep issuing money with the new regime's imagery, and not keep using the old imperial designs. That was the 1000. We also have the lower 500 ruble denomination. This one being really pretty with different colors, but unfortunately it has been worn down and lost a lot of its color. It's also been taped here since there has been some damage to it. Now these are worth quite a bit, relatively. I mean, Russian banknotes are rather cheap to collect, but it's a lot more expensive uncirculated than in these worn conditions. So these are quite affordable, really, in comparison. But that's the 1919 500. But some years later, although we can wait a bit, because I have a couple of more 1920, 1921 banknotes, but we can take them in somewhat of an order. Now, I should pick up another 10 ruble for comparisons when because this coloring and overall design is most likely familiar to you as the design scheme of the 10 ruble. But I shall fetch an original one for comparison. I did not do that beforehand. That was dumb of me. Let's see if I can find one. I'm not really interested in... Here it is. Here's one. So the original is larger, but you can see the color scheme is the same. There's the Royal Imperial double eagle and a double eagle, but without the crown, because at this point the Russian Empire with the Tsar is no more. And as I understand it, this model, which even says 1917, unlike the older series 1909, which were continued to be printed with the same year until 1917, 18, 19 or some such. Despite it's just the year of the model and not the year of the actual banknote. But you probably it's probably aware of that by now. So this is in really rough shape, so I got it for cheap. I believe, according to our website I visited, is from the Ukrainian town of Odessa, which was part of the Russian Empire, and unlike many parts of Ukraine, saw Ukrainian separatists also trying to gain power. But they would believe that this particular issue is probably from the white side who occupied the city, and not from the Ukrainian separatists, which had their own currency. Now I don't want to damage this any more than it already is, because it's already look, it's absolutely terrible shape. But I can at least fancy saying that I am owning one of them, even if it's basically falling apart. And that's a really lot of text. So that's the Odessan 10 ruble. Let's put it back like that, and let's just have it there and don't touch it. Taking away the 10 ruble. And here we have a familiar face. It's the Russian 1 ruble, but it's a newer reprint on really thin paper. This is absolutely tiny paper. It's the same basic design as the 1898 1 ruble, except it's dated 1918. As a really simple print and really thin paper. Now, I don't remember off my hand which particular white shall be mentioned administration in the Civil War, which issued this one. It might be Siberia, but I'm not entirely certain. And we have, double eagle coat of arms. It wasn't issued by Dreads. Or maybe it is, and I'm just fooling you right now. But a continuation of that is this other 10 ruble actually. I didn't, but it's a 10 ruble. You see there, 10. But it's a 10 ruble in the form of the 1 ruble banknote, which I suppose due to inflation would meant that 10 rubles would basically equal what 1 ruble used to be. But this one I know was issued by the White Siberian administration, which fought the Reds in Siberia. And while we are discussing them, we shall also check out what other. They are probably the same issue of these two. They look so similar. While we discuss the Siberian administration, is take a look of these certificates, or banknotes if you wish, but they are in the form of certificates, which were also issued in Siberia. I believe they were also issued pre-war as certificates, as they are. For other parts of Russia. So this could be redeemed for 50 rubles 1 year after its issue. So it's also says that in multiple languages. Treasury bill of 50 rubles payable on the 1st of June 1920. Thank God, because I don't know Russian. So, like I said, these were issued in multiple towns, perhaps even by the Reds across Russia. This, I believe, was issued in Omsk and therefore was part of the Siberian administration. And the other side is just blank. And it's in really good shape, actually. Moving on, it also exists as that one had been folded. 250 rubles. Basically the same. I believe it just differs in which months they're issued. It's also a lot larger, by the way, as you can see. But larger still is this one. Or it might be the same size, actually. 500 rubles. And I believe we are still talking about the same currency. But for all of these, they are all trying to be the ruble. But I don't know if they actually, if you would try to exchange them between each other, if that really were working or not. But I believe it was really chaotic during this time, so who knows? You just had to try and find out, I suppose. And larger still, at least in denomination, is the 1000 Siberian banknote. Moving on, or rather going back actually, we have these two. Now we're going back to 1917. I really should have talked about these in the previous video. These were actually issued in 1917 by the provisional government before the Civil War. And these are 20 and 40 ruble banknotes. So that means that they, despite their small size, they would equal, the left one would equal 2 of these, and the right one 4 of these. So it was easier to carry around, not having to have like 20-30 of these to make payments, but you could have a couple of these stamp-sized banknotes instead. By the way, actual stamps were used during the war and Civil War as currency, then mostly denominated in kopecks. Also a note about the previous video, there were some kopek banknotes there, which I said we should go through in the next video, meaning this one, but those were issued all the way back in 1915 and are not covered by this video and this topic, but they were 1915 stamp-like issues of the kopek, in case you were wondering. These were printed in large sheets and then they were cut by hand, meaning that the shapes differentiates between the notes. Now let's check out this one, because this is the only one I have, I believe, from this place. This is the northwestern front, and does that mean Murmansk or Arkhangelsk? Unsure. But this is 50 kopek. I believe 50 kopek. Alternatively ruble. Issued in 1919 by the Northwestern Front. On the other side we have this awesome eagle and a man on a horse. Awesome. That we really like. Really awesome design. The other banknotes from that place had similar designs. Moving on, we shall before we keep going, check out this one. Now the top one you see here, that's a 10,000 banknote, is from Svalbard in the 1980s, 90s. This one really isn't covered by today's video. But these two on the bottom are, we have the first one here, it's 50 kopek. And let's change, look at on the other side. And yes, we shall see a familiar face. Is it I shall put in text whoever it is. If it was the general of this army himself, or if it was an old Napoleonic general. I don't remember which one it was. I shall put in text. But this one issued by the South Russian front of the white side of the Civil War, obviously, because it's not very communist at all, as you see. It's rather hardcore right-wing imperialistic 50, yes, it's definitely 50 kopek. In really nice condition. And here, we shall see which side here. Here, something that also issued in the east of the country. It's 50 kopek, and it really looks rather American. And yes, it's because I'm pretty sure it's actually printed in America by the American banknote company. Now, this was initially ordered by the provisional government for an entirely new series of Russian money, but then the Civil War happened. But eventually they made its way over to Russia and was used by the white side, the provisional governments of the white side in the Civil War, in the eastern side of Russia, by the Siberian administration and others. And apparently, according to Numista, as late as 1920, more shipments arrived with these, but by that point the white side were being defeated. But moving back to South Russia and the ones holding up there, we have that one, obviously, but we shall not, that's not the first one we shall take a look at. Instead, it's, and these are really colorful designs made of rather nice thicker paper also, by the way. 25 ruble, and these really look hand-drawn, and I suppose they are really. 1918, model after hand-drawn stamps. 25 rubles of the South Russian front. As I said, these were whites, they were conservatives, they were anti-communist. Cossacks and whatever else were willing to stand in the way of the Soviets. We also have, is this the same guy again? These 250 ruble banknote. They exist in many denominations. Does it have a watermark? Yeah, but not there. But it is watermarked. And there you can see his face. But it's just lightly printed, it's not an actual watermark. Yeah. Also in a really nice condition. When I bought this large collection of Russian banknotes, I paid a couple thousand Swedish crowns for it. While there were plenty of these, you don't buy it for these. These are really cheap. These are just like well, you can get them or sell them for $2 or $3. They're not much. But these, that, basically most of what we have here today, that's why I bought it. It's really hard to put a price on it, but it's not overly abundant. So I thought, well, yeah, I'm going to take a chance and buy all of it, because these are really fancy, niche collector stuff, really. And it only gets worse from here. It only gets more deep, more niche, lots of different provincial administrations on the red side as well, on the white side, yeah. With the Americans printing money, with the Japanese, with all these different foreign banks also printing money. And I saw banknotes from the Russian railway company and in the Chinese banks producing rubles, and wow, I mean, it's basically an endless collector's area. But yeah, that was the 25 and 250. Where did I put yeah, I also received the 1000. This is a really excellent design. The 1000 ruble of this South Russian series here. Being a bit damaged, unfortunately, but it has stand the test of time and kept a lot of its coloring. And that is it the St. George or is it St. Andrews, St. George ribbon? Really important Russian symbol these days as well, but dating back to the imperial times. Really, really pretty. Unfortunately, it's damaged, but it wasn't it damaged. This would probably gone for a lot of money. With this fancy looking Russian double eagle as well. I don't feel like it gets rather more hardcore Russian white Civil War than this really. This like is the hardest of the hardcore. And finally we have these 10,000 ruble, and this is still by 1920 or 1919, so this is a lot of money in one singular banknote. Although these kind of high denominations would grow more and more common in the late years of the Civil War and this area of Russian history, as we soon shall see. I think it's time to move on. That was 1919. Let's move up until the 1920s. Let's just keep it there. By 1921, 1,000 ruble in the red part of Russia would have looked like this. Like with the 20 and 40 rubles in 1917, 1,000 rubles would now in the same way would just be printed on a sheet of paper and hand cut into small one-sided banknotes. This is just so thin that it's the print on the one side that's see-through. So that's how 1,000 rubles would look like then. Also, but really fancy design. I mean, those are rather fancy, but even fancier designs in 1919 for the Soviet side would look like this. This is the Soviet red 10,000 rubles of 1919. I suppose it was issued alongside other banknotes, such as this one, which is also 10,000. Or it was simply this was issued first and then this one came after, despite saying 1919. But I suppose they could also be issued alongside each other because it was pure chaos, really. Workers of the world unite. Proletarier aller länder. Verenighet euch. Ouch. Awful German. It should be demonetized. Or not even monetized to begin with. But this other reverse side really has kept its color, despite being far from uncirculated. Now, this is probably among the prettiest banknotes I own overall. These Soviet 10,000 rubles. It's such colorful, it has such detail, it's truly an art of work. Unlike the simpler emergency banknotes that were issued later. But moving on, by 1921 we also have this, and then you can see why the 1000 banknote is so simple. Because we got 25,000 ruble banknotes. And in some places we would have even far higher. 100,000, 500,000, perhaps even 1,000,000 ruble banknotes. Although I suppose it was far more common just to carry out a bunch of lower denomination banknotes than you ever owning a 1 million banknote. Since if that was the case, there would have been a lot more of the higher denominations, but instead they were often only existed locally in some parts of Russia. But by 1923 there was an attempt to redenominate the ruble, and here we can see an attempt at that. 50 new rubles issued by the Soviet government. Now, I don't think this would last over long either, and the 1920s was just I really don't understand it myself. There were many different rubles issued during the 1920s, and one replaced the other, and there were also gold rubles tied to the gold standard to stabilize, but those were not really used by common people, and they were questionable use, mostly in foreign trade and such, and yeah. But this is a redenominated ruble, at least from 1923. And that is really the end of this video, because after 1923 this situation stabilizes and we are leaving the Russian Civil War behind us, and the Soviet Union is firmly in place, and future issues of the rubles are Soviet issues. Stop. And there. The condition of these the banknotes is something to be desired. Leaves much to be desired is what I mean. Yeah, well, now to add this all of this. I hope I haven't forgotten. Yes, I forgot one thing. It's more of a side note. But I also have this obligation issued or dated 1914 for 100 rubles, and 100 rubles in 1914, it's not worthless. It's quite a bit of money. I mean, we have a 100 ruble banknote, and then it's the largest huge one of 500 rubles. But it is equal to the second largest and quite a bit of money, 100 rubles. Redeemable in 1928, and yeah, well, that didn't really work. But instead, this circulated as regular money instead. And there were also coupons that originally were on the left side here, with obligations, which could be redeemed, I suppose. This one in particular doesn't have those left, but probably just cut off and used as is, as a banknote. Let's see if we can open it up, by the way, or if that is too complicated. It's probably too complicated. I've taped it closed. Well, that was that, and that side note and that video, and with that I wish you a Merry Christmas. Thank you for watching.